The mansion stood like a giant's castle at the end of Rosewood Lane. Its windows sparkled in the sunlight. Its gardens bloomed with roses as red as blood. But inside those beautiful walls, something terrible was happening. 17 babysitters had walked through the golden front door in 17 days. And 17 babysitters had run out crying, screaming, or calling for help. The taxi stopped at the bottom of the long driveway. The driver looked up at the mansion and shook his head. "Lady, are you sure about this? I heard stories about this place. Bad stories." Rosa smiled from the back seat. Her wheelchair was folded beside her. "I'm sure," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, but strong, like a whisper that could cut through steel. The driver helped her into her wheelchair. He looked worried. "The children who live here, they're not normal children. They're hurting," Rosa said. She wheeled herself toward the front door. "And hurt children do hurtful things." The driver watched her go, then drove away fast. He didn't want to be there when the screaming started. Rosa pressed the doorbell. Deep inside the mansion, she heard a sound like thunder. Then came another sound, footsteps. Lots of footsteps. Running. Laughing. And something else. Something that sounded like scheming. The door opened. A tall man stood there. His suit was perfect. His face was tired. Very, very tired. "You must be Rosa," he said. His name was Mr. Blackwell, and he was the richest man in the city. But his eyes looked empty, like someone had stolen all his happiness. "I'm surprised you came. Most people cancel after they hear about my children." "I don't scare easy," Rosa said. Mr. Blackwell's laugh was bitter. "We'll see about that. You're number 18. The last babysitter lasted 45 minutes. The one before that, 20 minutes. One woman ran out after 10 minutes and never came back for her purse." Rosa wheeled herself inside. The mansion was enormous. A staircase curved up and up like a snake made of marble. A chandelier hung from the ceiling, sparkling with 1,000 tiny lights. Everything was beautiful. Everything was expensive. Everything was too quiet. "Where are they?" Rosa asked. Mr. Blackwell's face went pale. "They're watching. They're always watching." He looked up at the ceiling. "Children, come down. Your new babysitter is here." Silence. Then, from somewhere above, a giggle. Then another. Then another. Then one more. "For giggles. For children. The quadruplets. They're testing you already," Mr. Blackwell whispered. "Listen, I need to go to work. I'll be back tonight. If you need to leave, the door is unlocked. Just try to stay as long as you can. Please. I'm running out of options." He rushed out the door like the house was on fire. Rosa sat alone in the giant entrance hall. Her wheels made small squeaking sounds on the shiny floor. She looked around slowly, calmly. "Hello," she called out. Her voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was just there. Steady. "My name is Rosa. I know you're up there. I know you're planning something. And that's okay." Whispers from above. Confused whispers. "I came here to spend time with you," Rosa continued. "I didn't come to boss you around. I didn't come to yell. I came to stay." More whispers. Then footsteps on the stairs. 4 children appeared at the top of the staircase. 2 boys. 2 girls. All exactly the same age, 8 years old. They looked like angels in their expensive clothes. But their eyes were full of fire. The first girl, Emma, had wild black hair and a crooked smile. "You can't walk," she said. Not meanly, just observing, like a scientist studying a bug. "That's true," Rosa said. "I use wheels instead of legs." The second girl, Sophie, crossed her arms. "How are you going to chase us when we run away?" "I'm not going to chase you," Rosa said simply. The boys, Max and Oliver, looked at each other. They seemed confused. Every babysitter always chased them. That was part of the fun. "You're going to quit like all the others," Max said. "Everyone always quits. Everyone always leaves," Oliver added quietly. His voice was sadder than his brother's. Rosa wheeled herself closer to the stairs. She looked up at all 4 children. I'm not everyone, she said. And I don't quit. Emma's crooked smile grew wider. We'll see about that. She nodded to her siblings. Operation Wheelchair Disaster starts now. The 4 children scattered like mice. They ran in different directions, their feet pounding on the floors above. Rosa didn't panic. She didn't call for them to stop. She didn't look worried at all. She simply wheeled herself to the center of the entrance hall and waited. 3 minutes passed. Then came the noise. Crash. A bucket of water fell from the 2nd floor. It missed Rosa by 3 feet and splashed across the marble floor. Bang. A pillow flew through the air. It bounced off Rosa's shoulder, soft as a cloud. Thud. A rope ladder dropped from somewhere above, blocking the hallway. The 4 children appeared on the stairs again. They looked disappointed. Rosa was still sitting there. Still calm. Still smiling. You didn't even move, Emma said, sounding annoyed. Why would I move? Rosa asked. You didn't hurt me. You just made noise. Sophie frowned. Aren't you going to yell at us? No. Aren't you going to tell Dad? Max asked. No. Aren't you going to leave? Oliver whispered. Rosa looked at each child one by one. Her eyes were gentle. No. I told you. I came to stay. You can throw 100 buckets. You can drop 1,000 pillows. You can make all the noise you want. But I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. The children stood frozen on the stairs. They'd never heard an adult talk like this before. Every other babysitter had shouted, cried, or run. But Rosa just sat there in her wheelchair, looking at them like they were precious. Like they mattered. This doesn't make sense, Emma muttered. Why aren't you scared of us? Sophie demanded. Rosa's smile was sad and knowing. Because I know what you're really doing. You're not trying to scare me away. You're trying to see if I'll stay. You're testing me. You want to know if I'm like all the others. The 4 children said nothing. But something changed in their eyes. Something small. Something that looked almost like hope. Let me tell you a secret, Rosa said softly. I'm very hard to scare. And I'm even harder to make leave. So you might as well come down here and talk to me. Because I'm going to be here when the sun goes down. And I'm going to be here when it comes back up. Whether you like it or not. The quadruplets looked at each other. A silent conversation passed between them, the kind only siblings can have. Then, slowly, they began walking down the stairs. The war had begun. But it wasn't the kind of war they expected. And Rosa? Rosa just kept smiling. The children reached the bottom of the stairs. They formed a line, like soldiers preparing for battle. Emma stood in front, the leader. Sophie was beside her, arms still crossed. Max and Oliver stood in the back, watching everything with sharp eyes. Okay, Emma said. You want to stay? Fine. But we have rules in this house. I'd love to hear them, Rosa said kindly. Rule number 1, Emma continued. We don't listen to babysitters. Rule number 2, Sophie added. We don't eat vegetables. Rule number 3, Max said. We stay up as late as we want. Oliver spoke last, his voice barely above a whisper. And rule number 4, we don't talk about Mom. The room went silent. Even the other children looked uncomfortable. Rosa noticed how they all looked down at the floor when Oliver said that word. Mom. Rosa nodded slowly. Those sound like rules you made because you're hurting. And that's okay. I'm not here to break your rules. I'm here to be with you. That doesn't make sense, Emma said, frustrated. You're supposed to make us behave. You're supposed to force us to do things. That's what babysitters do. Maybe, Rosa said. But I'm not most babysitters. Sophie narrowed her eyes. Prove it. If you're so different, prove you won't leave like everyone else. Rosa thought for a moment. Then she wheeled herself to the middle of the room and stopped. What if I told you that you could do anything you want today? Any trick, any prank, any test. And I promise I won't leave. Would you believe me? The 4 children looked at each other. This had to be a trap. Adults didn't just let children do whatever they wanted. Anything? Max asked suspiciously. Anything, Rosa confirmed. As long as nobody gets hurt. Emma's crooked smile returned. You're going to regret this." For the next 3 hours, the children unleashed chaos like the mansion had never seen. They locked Rosa in the bathroom. She waited patiently, humming a soft tune, until they let her out. They hid all the food in the kitchen. Rosa calmly made herself a cup of tea and waited at the table until they got bored and brought the food back. They turned off all the lights in the house and tried to scare her in the dark. Rosa sat perfectly still, not even flinching, until they turned the lights back on, disappointed. They rolled her wheelchair to the far end of the garden and left her there. Rosa enjoyed the sunshine and the birds singing until Max felt guilty and brought her back inside. Nothing worked. Rosa never yelled, never cried, never threatened to call their father. She just existed, calmly, peacefully, like a mountain that couldn't be moved. By afternoon, the children were exhausted. They sat in the living room, breathing hard, confused and frustrated. "Why won't you get mad?" Sophie finally shouted. "Why won't you leave?" Rosa wheeled herself closer to them. "Can I tell you a story?" "We don't want a story," Emma said. But her voice was less certain now. "This story is about me," Rosa said. "And why I use this wheelchair." Oliver looked up. The other children tried to pretend they weren't interested, but Rosa could see they were listening. "When I was young," Rosa began, "I loved to dance. I danced every single day. Ballet, jazz, hip-hop, I loved it all. Dancing made me feel free, like I could fly." "What happened?" Oliver asked quietly. Rosa's smile became sad. "I was in a car accident. A very bad one. When I woke up in the hospital, the doctors told me I would never walk again. Never dance again. Everything I loved was gone." The children were completely silent now. Even Emma had stopped looking tough. "I was so angry," Rosa continued. "I broke things. I yelled at everyone. I pushed people away. I wanted everyone to feel as bad as I felt." "Like us," Max whispered. Rosa nodded. "Exactly like you. I thought if I could make other people hurt, maybe I would hurt less. But you know what I learned?" "What?" All 4 children asked together. "Hurting others doesn't make your own hurt go away. It just makes more hurt. It fills the world with hurt until there's nothing else left." Sophie's eyes were getting wet. But how did you stop being angry?" Rosa reached into her bag and pulled out an old, wrinkled photograph. She held it up. It showed a young woman in a wheelchair, surrounded by children at a park. The woman was smiling. The children were smiling. Everyone looked happy. "Someone stayed with me," Rosa said softly. "When I was mean, when I was angry, when I tried to push her away, my Aunt Maria stayed. She didn't tell me to stop being angry. She didn't tell me to get over it. She just stayed. Every day. Until one day, I realized I wasn't alone anymore. And when you're not alone, the hurt doesn't feel so big." Tears rolled down Oliver's cheeks. Then Sophie's. Then Max's. Even Emma's eyes were red. "Our mom died," Emma said, her voice cracking. "She got sick and she died, and Dad doesn't talk about her, and everyone at school looks at us weird, and we just want—" Her voice broke completely. "You just want someone to stay," Rosa finished gently. All 4 children nodded, crying now. Really crying. Not the fake tears they used to manipulate babysitters. Real tears that came from deep inside their hearts. Rosa opened her arms. "Come here." Oliver ran to her first. Then Max. Then Sophie. Even Emma, the tough leader, finally broke down and joined her siblings. They all hugged Rosa, crying into her shoulders, holding on like she was the only solid thing in a world that kept falling apart. "I'm staying," Rosa whispered to them. "I'm staying. I'm staying. I'm staying. I promise." They cried for a long time. Rosa held them and let them cry. Sometimes crying is the most important thing a person can do. When the tears finally slowed, Sophie pulled back and wiped her eyes. "We've been really mean to you." "You've been hurting," Rosa corrected. "There's a difference." "We're sorry," Max said. "I forgive you," Rosa said simply. "Now, how about we do something together? Something fun." Emma sniffled. "Like what?" Rosa smiled. "How about we draw?" I brought coloring supplies. We can draw anything we want. The children looked at each other. They hadn't drawn anything in months. Not since their mother died. Okay, Oliver said quietly. Rosa pulled out crayons, markers, and paper from her bag. She spread them on the living room floor. The 5 of them sat in a circle, 4 children and 1 woman in a wheelchair, and began to draw. At first, the children drew dark things. Storms. Broken toys. Empty rooms. But slowly, the pictures changed. Sophie drew a sun. A big, bright yellow sun. Max drew a garden with flowers. Emma drew a house. Not their big mansion. A smaller house. A happy house. And Oliver drew something that made Rosa's heart swell. He drew 5 people. 4 children holding hands around a woman in a wheelchair. Everyone was smiling. That's us, Oliver said, pointing at the picture. That's our family now. Rosa's eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears. It's beautiful. They drew until the sun began to set. The mansion, which had been filled with screaming and chaos for weeks, was now filled with the soft sound of crayons on paper and quiet laughter. Emma looked at Rosa. Are you really going to stay? Even after today? Especially after today, Rosa said. You showed me who you really are. Not the angry children who play tricks. The real you. The children who miss their mom and need someone to love them. And those children? Those children are wonderful. Nobody ever said that before, Sophie whispered. Then they weren't looking properly, Rosa replied. As the last bit of sunlight came through the windows, Max asked the question they were all thinking. What happens when Dad comes home? Will he make you leave? Rosa's smile was mysterious. Let's wait and see. The front door opened. Mr. Blackwell stepped inside, preparing himself for disaster. Preparing to find his children running wild and another babysitter gone. But instead, he found something impossible. Silence. Peace. And his 4 children, sitting quietly on the floor, drawing pictures with a woman in a wheelchair. His briefcase fell from his hand and hit the floor with a loud thump. All 5 people looked up at him. Dad, the children said together. But they didn't run to him. They didn't attack him with complaints and demands. They just smiled. Mr. Blackwell looked at Rosa, then at his children, then back at Rosa. What did you do? He whispered. What magic is this? Rosa smiled. No magic, Mr. Blackwell. Just patience. Just love. Just staying. And for the first time in a very long time, Mr. Blackwell saw something in his children's eyes that he thought was gone forever. Mr. Blackwell stood frozen in the doorway. His expensive suit suddenly felt too tight. His perfect briefcase lay on the floor, forgotten. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. He could only stare. His children, his wild, angry, impossible children, were sitting peacefully on the floor. They were drawing. They were smiling. They weren't fighting or screaming or destroying things. This isn't real, he whispered. This can't be real. Emma stood up and walked to her father. She didn't stomp. She didn't slam her feet. She just walked, holding a piece of paper. Dad, she said. Look what I drew. Mr. Blackwell took the paper with shaking hands. It was a picture of a house with 5 stick figures in front. 4 small ones. 1 in a wheelchair. That's our family, Emma said. Our new family. Mr. Blackwell's eyes filled with tears. He hadn't cried since his wife's funeral. He thought he had no tears left. But looking at his daughter's drawing, looking at her hopeful face, the tears came anyway. How? He asked Rosa. I've tried everything. Strict babysitters. Nice babysitters. Young ones. Old ones. Nothing worked. They broke every single one. But you're still here. How? Rosa wheeled herself closer. I didn't try to fix them, Mr. Blackwell. I just tried to understand them. That's it. Mr. Blackwell looked confused. That's the secret? That's the beginning, Rosa said. Your children weren't being bad. They were being loud about their pain. Every trick, every prank, every broken rule was them screaming, I'm hurting and I don't know what to do about it. Sophie came over and took her father's hand. We miss Mom, Dad. We miss her so much it feels like we're breaking inside. Mr. Blackwell fell to his knees. He pulled Sophie into a hug. Then Oliver ran over. Then Max. Then Emma. All four children surrounded their father, and they all cried together for the first time since their mother died. Rosa quietly wheeled herself back, giving them space. Some moments belong to families alone. After a long time, Mr. Blackwell looked up at Rosa. His face was red and wet, but he looked lighter somehow, like he'd been carrying rocks in his pockets and finally put them down. "Will you stay?" he asked. "Not just for today. Will you stay with us? Help us? We need you." "We really need you," Oliver added, his voice small but certain. Rosa smiled. "I'll stay. As long as you need me, I'll stay." The children cheered. Even Mr. Blackwell smiled, a real smile, not the tired, fake one he wore at work. "But," Rosa said, holding up one finger, "things have to change around here." Emma's eyes narrowed. "What kind of changes?" "Good changes," Rosa promised. "First, we're going to talk about your mom. Not talking about her doesn't make the hurt go away. It just makes it grow bigger in the dark." Mr. Blackwell nodded slowly. "You're right. We should have been talking about her all along." "Second," Rosa continued, "we're going to work together. No more you children against the world. No more Mr. Blackwell hiding at work. We're going to be a team." "Like a real family?" Sophie asked hopefully. "Like a real family," Rosa confirmed. Max raised his hand like he was in school. "Can we ask questions?" "Always," Rosa said. "Why did you come here?" Max asked. "You knew we were terrible. You knew we chased everyone away. Why did you come anyway?" Rosa's smile was gentle and sad and beautiful all at once. "Because I know what it's like to be left behind. After my accident, a lot of people left. Friends. Family. People I thought would stay forever. They saw my wheelchair and decided I wasn't worth the trouble anymore." "That's mean," Oliver said angrily. "It hurt very much," Rosa agreed. "But it taught me something important. It taught me that the best thing you can do for someone who's hurting is to stay. Not to fix them. Not to change them. Just to stay." So when I heard about 4 children who kept pushing people away, I knew exactly what they needed. They needed someone who wouldn't leave. Emma wiped her eyes. "We're sorry we were mean to you." "You weren't mean," Rosa said. "You were testing. You needed to know if I was real. If I would really stay. And now you know, I'm not going anywhere." Mr. Blackwell stood up, his children still holding his hands. "Rosa, I need to ask you something important." "Yes. Would you consider not just being a babysitter? Would you consider being part of our family? Really part of it?" The children gasped. They looked at Rosa with wide, hopeful eyes. Rosa was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "I would be honored." "Yes," all 4 children shouted together. They jumped up and down, dancing around Rosa's wheelchair. For the first time in months, the mansion filled with happy screams instead of angry ones. With laughter instead of crashing and breaking. Mr. Blackwell laughed too. "I should warn you, there's still going to be a handful." "We're not that bad anymore," Emma protested. "We're just a little bad," Max admitted. "A tiny bit bad," Sophie added. "Almost good," Oliver finished. Everyone laughed, even Rosa. Over the next few weeks, the mansion transformed. The children still had energy, lots of it, but now they used it for good things. They helped Rosa in the garden. They drew pictures together every afternoon. They talked about their mother, sharing memories and crying when they needed to. Mr. Blackwell came home earlier from work. He had dinner with his family. He tucked his children into bed and told them stories about their mother. Funny stories, sad stories, beautiful stories. And Rosa? Rosa stayed, just like she promised. One night, 3 months after Rosa arrived, the family sat together in the living room. A fire crackled in the fireplace. Outside, snow was falling softly. "Rosa?" Oliver asked. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "You said you used to love dancing. Do you still miss it?" Rosa thought about the question. "Sometimes. But I learned something important. Dancing isn't just about moving your legs. It's about moving your heart. And my heart? My heart still dances every day, especially here, with all of you. Sophie came over and hugged Rosa. Our hearts dance too now. We were broken before, but you helped fix us. You fixed yourselves, Rosa corrected gently. I just stayed while you did the hard work. Mr. Blackwell looked at his children, really looked at them, and saw something miraculous. They were still the same 4 kids, but the anger was gone. The meanness was gone. In its place was something softer, something kinder. Love. Thank you, Mr. Blackwell said to Rosa. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for letting me stay, Rosa replied. Emma climbed onto the couch next to Rosa's wheelchair. Do you know what I learned from you? What's that? I learned that being strong doesn't mean never falling down. It means getting back up. You fell down really far down and you got back up. You kept going. You kept believing. And that's the strongest thing ever. Rosa's eyes filled with tears again. Happy tears. Proud tears. You 4 are strong too, she said. You lost your mother. You were so sad you thought you'd never be happy again. But look at you now. Look at this family. You didn't give up either. Max grinned. We learned from the best. As the fire crackled and the snow fell outside, the 5 of them sat together in comfortable silence. Not the scary, empty silence from before. A good silence. A peaceful silence. The silence of people who know they belong together. The mansion that was once full of chaos and broken babysitters had become something new. Something better. It had become a home. And in that home lived a family that almost didn't make it. A father who learned to come back. For children who learned to trust again. And a woman in a wheelchair who taught them all the most important lesson. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stay. The end. If this story touched your heart, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone. Like this story if it made you feel something real. Subscribe for more emotional, powerful tales about love, loss, and the courage it takes to keep going. Because in a world that often feels cold and scary, stories like this remind us, there are still people who stay. There are still people who care. There are still people who see the hurt behind the anger and choose love anyway. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and most importantly, stay. Thank you for reading.